What's going on, Pokemon trainers? So, episode number 37 of Pokemon Horizons, and this episode kind of sucked a little bit. I think this was probably one of the worst episodes of Pokemon Horizons yet, and it wasn't that it was necessarily bad, it was just a little bit boring. You know, I will say that what I have noticed kind of over, and I know that maybe not all of you feel this way, and I know that some of you may really love this character. I think that that's completely okay. But in my personal opinion, just from my enjoyment level, which might be similar to yours, what I've noticed over the length of these 37 episodes, right? This anime's been on since I think since last April. So we're getting close to a year worth of Pokemon Horizons so far. And what I've noticed is the episodes that seemingly focus more on Roy are less interesting. And it's not a coincidence. It's happened over and over and over again. And the reality is 𝐒𝐿𝐴 is the main character. 𝐒𝐿𝐴 is the point of, she's the reason, Pokemon Horizons exist. Maybe she's not the reason it exists, but she's kind of at the forefront. And I've always been of one mind in saying that I really don't think that Roy was a needed character. Now, I'm not saying that he couldn't have existed or, whatever. I'm not saying that, somebody who's a Fuecoco trainer or whatever, I get it. It's 𝐒𝐿𝐴 at the forefront, and then she has her Brock and Misty, in Dot and in Roy. So I'm not saying that they don't exist at all. But I just think that the episodes where we completely pivot over to Roy, similar to the episodes that we completely pivoted over to Brock or completely pivoted over to Misty before, or one of the very, very many side characters or partner characters that Ash had to have during his adventures. I just don't think Roy is as compelling of a character as, as Brock or, as Misty, or as Hop, or whatever the hell his name is, from Journeys or whatever. I don't really like him either, though. But you guys know what I'm saying. So I just seen it over and over again when we've kind of pivoted. Is unlike Ash, Brock, Misty. I just go to that one because that's the one that everybody knows, right? So as opposed to that dynamic that they had there, it's Pokemon Horizons has tried to push a little bit more of a narrative of more they're kind of 50-50. They're kind of sharing that spotlight. And it's well, no, 𝐒𝐿𝐴's the main character. So regardless, I've just noticed that over and over again. You might not agree with it. You might absolutely love Roy. And hey, if that's your feeling, I completely get it. It's that's just how I feel. But when we talk about episode number 37, the main driving force of this episode was giving Fuecoco a reason to learn another move. And in this episode, he learned Disarming Voice, which is a fairy type move, which is an interesting, a very interesting move for Fuecoco to learn. But he learned Disarming Voice, which is a fairy type move, which essentially does what it says. It kind of disarms its victims, disarms its other Pokemon, disarms its opponents. And it's a fine move, it's in the very vast move pool of moves. Fuecoco getting Disarming Voice isn't on my list of I would think that they would get that. But in the context of the show, it makes sense because Roy and Fuecoco have very much pushed this narrative of singing, right? Ho, 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 gay dirt. You know what I mean? So again, the singing stuff kind of makes me worried because in watching the first few episodes of the dubbed anime, they don't do the singing stuff very well because Fuecoco, you know what I mean? They don't really do it too well. That translating from Japanese to English isn't a great transition, so that makes me a little bit worried to see more singing stuff, to see when they actually have to pull it off. But that was the main thing. So the main crux of this episode is the Rising Volticers. They need money. They're going broke. They need money. They have no way to continue to fund their expeditions and to eat and live and all this other stuff. So Freed got this really, really cool offer from somebody he knows through his links or whatever, and it's an excavation team in Paldea. They're in the middle of the desert area in Paldea, and they're excavating there, and the job that Freed contracted was to go and move a rock. And very long story short, they find out that they've been getting attacked by Pokemon. they find out that there is a bunch of what's the Pokemon called? The Gator Vader Pokemon. But they go and they find out that they're getting attacked by a bunch of different crocodiles, and the evolutionary line for crocodile that they're getting attacked by. So we find out that there's like a family of crocodiles, and they have the Crocoroks, and they have the Sandiles there. And essentially because they keep getting attacked by them, they can't figure out why. So they find out that, with Roy and Liko and Freed investigating, they find out that the excavation has been messing up the babies, which is the Sandiles, the baby Sandiles nap times. They've been getting mad, so they've been, reciprocating that energy back. Very long story short, again, during this time, because they can, Roy begins singing, and Fuecoco begins singing and all of that stuff to calm them down. They end up coming back up, and they end up attacking them again. And Roy gets an idea. He's like, oh, let's have them use their power. Let's have them use their disarming voice to destroy the rock. Before he did that, he should have told Freed. Freed should have, made a deal, or Liko could have made a deal, be like, hey, just to make sure we get paid, doesn't matter how this rock disappears, you just need it gone, correct? We'll still get paid no matter what. The archaeologists, this happens in anime all the time, right? People who just kind of like use their upper cortex of their brain, just be like, hey, doesn't matter what happens, as long as this rock is gone, that's what you want, we're going to get paid, right? And then, archaeologists would be like, yeah, I just need this rock gone so we can continue our job. And then they could have done what they did, which is getting all the Pokemon together, destroying the rock and stuff. But because they didn't do that, they just went with, blah, 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 blah. They destroyed the rock and they didn't get paid, so they're still broke. And Liko, freaking Liko, such a pure child. She's like, oh, we got something more valuable in the disarming voice and Fuecoco growing and Roy growing. We got something more valuable than money. No, girl. Y'all broke. There's nothing more valuable than the money. You needed the money. So that's what we get. And then we got a preview for next episode. Next episode seems like we're going to get back to something more intriguing. It looks like Liko finds a hurt Moshold, which is the Pokemon that has like the family, usually a family of 3, family of 4. And it looks like that Moshold may have gotten separated from its family. So maybe Liko gets a new Pokemon, like getting a Moshold family would be really, really cool. So next episode looks like it'll be a little bit more fun, a little bit more intriguing. But again, next episode, it does look like it's another filler episode before we get to that next Paldean adventure, that next thing that they're going to be going on. So anyways, overall, episode 37 was a watchable Pokemon episode. If you had to rank episode 1 through 37, this would probably be like dead last. This would probably be like the 37th enjoyable episode. Maybe 36. There might be one in there that I poo-pooed on during the season somewhere that was worse than this one. But in my main memory right now, this has been the worst episode of Pokemon so far, which is okay because it was watchable, completely fine. And if you were just kind of binge watching, episode after episode, you would just forget that this episode existed, blah, 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 So anyways, I'll see you guys next weekend. Peace out, my friends.